In the secluded village of Ravenswood, where dense forests and mountains surround every corner, life unfolds with an almost ethereal calm. The inhabitants, accustomed to the tranquility of nature, lead a simple life, far removed from the turmoil of the outside world. But beneath this apparent peace, an ancient and powerful darkness has begun to awaken, threatening to forever change the destiny of the village. The first to sense that something was wrong was Daniel, a young journalist from the city who arrived in Ravenswood in search of intriguing stories for his investigative blog. Drawn by rumors of mysterious disappearances and savage attacks on animals, Daniel initially believed everything could be explained by the presence of a common predator. However, what he discovered was far more terrifying than he had anticipated. As the attacks grew in frequency and brutality, fear began to take hold of the inhabitants. The forests, once a source of sustenance and tranquility, became a forbidden place, filled with shadows and menacing whispers. The locals, bewildered and frightened, began to whisper about ancient legends, stories of men who transformed into beasts under the light of the full moon. Daniel, always skeptical of the supernatural, was driven by curiosity to investigate further. It was then that he met Megan, a local biologist intrigued by the same events. Together, they began to unravel the clues, finding enormous footprints in the forest, claw marks on trees, and traces of a creature that seemed not to belong to this world. But the true revelation came with the arrival of two strangers in the village, Lucian and Sylvia, who introduced themselves as hunters of paranormal phenomena. Unlike the inhabitants of Ravenswood, these two seemed unfazed by the recent events. Instead, they appeared prepared, as if they had been waiting for something like this to happen. As tensions mounted, Lucian and Sylvia began to warn Daniel and Megan about the real danger they were facing. They were not dealing with mere wild animals, but with werewolves, beings who exist between the human and bestial worlds, and who awaken their true nature under the light of the full moon. What began as a simple investigation quickly transformed into a struggle for survival. As Daniel and Megan delved deeper into the secrets of Ravenswood, they realized that the line between humanity and the beast was thinner than they had ever imagined. Now, they not only had to protect themselves and the village inhabitants, but also find a way to stop the creatures before they destroyed everything in their path. In this dark and dangerous journey, Daniel and Megan will confront the true nature of evil and will have to decide whom they can trust and how far they are willing to go to protect their own. The moon's awakening has begun, and with it, a battle between humanity and the shadows that lurk. Don't miss out on the best. Subscribe now to my YouTube channel and join this amazing community. Every week, new adventures, tips, and much more await you. Hit the subscribe button and activate the bell to stay always up to date. Let's start with the story. In a small and isolated mountain village called Ravenswood, life proceeds peacefully until a series of mysterious disappearances and brutal attacks on animals begin to terrify the inhabitants. The locals are puzzled and frightened, and soon rumors arise that something inhuman is lurking in the dark forests surrounding the village. Daniel, a young journalist from the city who has arrived in Ravenswood looking for stories for his investigative blog, becomes intrigued by these strange events. Skeptical by nature, Daniel doesn't believe in supernatural legends, but when he finds evidence of what seem to be large and powerful creatures, his curiosity is piqued. With the help of Megan, a local biologist also intrigued by the strange attacks, Daniel begins to investigate. As Daniel and Megan delve deeper into their investigation, two mysterious individuals arrive in the village, Lucian and Sylvia, who introduce themselves as paranormal hunters. Despite their calm demeanor, Lucian and Sylvia seem to know more about the recent events than they are willing to share. As the attacks in the forest become more frequent and violent, the paranormal hunters warn Daniel and Megan that they are dealing with something far more dangerous than they could imagine. Lucian mentions an ancient myth about beings who transform under the full moon, creatures humans know as werewolves. Although Daniel remains skeptical at first, Megan begins to consider the possibility that these creatures might be real. During a full moon night, Daniel, Megan, Lucian, and Sylvia venture into the forest to try to capture evidence of what is truly happening. What they find is more terrifying than any of them expected. They witness the transformation of a seemingly normal man into a fierce beast, a werewolf. Horrified, they barely escape with their lives. Now convinced that werewolves are real, Daniel faces the difficult decision of how to handle this information. He knows that revealing the truth could cause panic, but he also understands that the village needs to be prepared for what is coming. After the shocking experience, Daniel and Megan decide to join forces with Lucian and Sylvia, who reveal that they have been hunting werewolves for years. They explain that these beings are not simply monsters, but cursed humans trapped between two worlds. Some are aware of their nature and struggle against their instincts, while others have fully succumbed to the inner beast. The four of them form an alliance to protect the village and contain the threat. As they investigate further, they discover that the leader of the werewolf pack, Alaric, is a former resident of Ravenswood, someone who has been consumed by the curse and now plans to expand his dominion over the region. While searching for ways to defeat the werewolves, Megan discovers an ancient grimoire in the village library, a book that describes the origin of the werewolf curse. According to the grimoire, the curse was the result of a failed pact between an ancient clan of witches and a lunar entity, a pact that condemned their descendants to transform into beasts under the full moon. Daniel and Megan, with Lucian and Sylvia's help, try to find a way to reverse the curse, or at least contain it. However, time is running out as the next full moon approaches, bringing with it a large gathering of werewolves deep in the forest. As the full moon nears, internal conflicts begin to surface. Lucian, who has dedicated his life to hunting werewolves, reveals a dark past. He was once one of them but managed to escape the curse's control. This discovery causes tensions within the group, especially when Sylvia admits that she has always known the truth but kept it secret to protect Lucian. Daniel and Megan must decide whether they can still trust Lucian, knowing that the beast within him could awaken. Meanwhile, Alaric, the pack leader, offers Lucian the chance to rejoin them, promising power and freedom. Lucian faces an impossible choice: betray his new allies or succumb to his lupin nature. Despite the doubts and distrust, the group decides to unite and prepare an offensive against Alaric and his pack. Using the grimoire and Lucian's knowledge, they devise a plan to lure the werewolves into a trap in the forest, where they hope to either contain or destroy them. Megan creates a plant-based serum that, according to the grimoire, should weaken the werewolves enough for them to be defeated. However, the serum is experimental, and they are unsure if it will work. Despite the uncertainties, they have no other choice. The night of the full moon arrives, and the group ventures deep into the forest, where Alaric and his pack have set up camp. The tension is palpable, and everyone knows this could be their last night. In the midst of the confrontation, Lucian faces Alaric head-on while Daniel and Megan fight for their lives against the werewolves. Megan's serum works partially, weakening some of the werewolves, but it is not enough to stop Alaric, whose strength surpasses all others. The battle is fierce and desperate, with casualties on both sides. At the climax of the battle, a gravely injured Lucian decides to sacrifice what remains of his humanity to save his companions. He allows the beast within him to take over one last time, using his lupin strength to fight Alaric. In a brutal combat, Lucian manages to kill Alaric, but at the cost of losing himself to the transformation. Megan and Daniel, aware of Lucian's sacrifice, manage to contain the remaining werewolves by using the grimoire to seal the curse, at least temporarily. With Alaric dead, the pack dissolves, and the remaining werewolves flee, now leaderless. With the immediate threat contained, Daniel and Megan return to the village, knowing that the fight against the werewolf curse is far from over. However, they have gained a respite and the knowledge that there is hope for redemption for those trapped by the curse. The village of Ravenswood begins to heal, although the scars of the battle remain. Daniel decides to write about his experience, revealing the truth about werewolves to the world while protecting those still struggling to control their curse. Megan, for her part, commits to continuing her search for a permanent cure. The story ends with a sense of hope mixed with caution. Although they have won a battle, the war against the darkness lurking within humanity is far from over. But now, thanks to their courage and determination, Daniel and Megan are prepared for whatever comes next. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and comment.